Welcome to the Light Forge. This is Adwookdub.
This is Merps. We are back from our Thanksgiving where we actually saw each other during Thanksgiving. Hopefully, all of you guys out there had a great Thanksgiving weekend as well. But now we're back.
We were just
We
hanging
got
out at McDonald's, eating cones, eating triple cheeseburgers. They have triple cheeseburgers at McDonald's now.
they do, and they don't have dollar menu anymore, which is
Yeah.
insane.
This is how long it's
Um,
been since I've been to like legit McDonald's living in New York. I like went back to McDonald's. I'm like, ooh, it's a whole new menu. But we were hanging out and valuing cards. We got through every card that's been released so far, so we have a pretty good idea of how the meta is going to be, and we got some surprises for you. But we'll get to that. So yeah, how was your Thanksgiving?
It was fine. I mean, went back home, ate a ton of food, played a lot of Pokemon Moon, which is pretty good. My gosh, I mean, okay, I say this. Okay, so I've said this like for the past two Pokemon gens. I don't know if I can do the next Pokemon gen because the game is so slow. I love the game, I love Pokemon, but the game itself is just so
I've
freaking
heard this
slow.
speech like so many times. It's
Yeah,
not gonna happen.
yeah,
You're gonna play the next one.
yeah. I probably will. Well, I mean, they made some good quality of life changes,
You're
but
gonna be like
anyways,
50 years old
anyways.
and you're gonna be playing the Pokemon. Your kids are gonna be like, "Come on, Dad, why are you playing Pokemon?"
I'll be like, next time they're not getting my money.
Okay. Thanksgiving was cool, and one thing that I am very thankful for is this new mechanic that's coming out, because mechanics are what Hearthstone is all about. And as people who have not gotten the new mechanic to play with since, like, okay, Discover is kind of a new mechanic, so maybe since LoE, but really since TGT. So for more than a year, I've been waiting on a new mechanic, and we got one in the Grimy Goons with the +1 with the buffing your hand mechanic, and we saw the potions, which with the Cabal, which were a letdown because it's not a real mechanic. That's just like a bunch of cards they call potions. Naming everything with the same word does not make a mechanic, despite what Blizzard thinks. But this whole Cabal thing, which we had guessed was going to be some kind of mana manipulation, and we were totally off base. It is a new mechanic, but it has nothing to do with really mana manipulation. It is actually the Jade mechanic, and this is extremely exciting because it it opens up so many things. Like, this is the most, it's not the most complicated mechanic in the game. Like, Inspire obviously will always probably be the most complicated mechanic in the game, but it is one of the most interesting ones, especially when you try to do like value cards or you try to construct decks. You want to, I know you have like super strong feelings about this, and you were like ranting about it as soon as it came out. I didn't
Yep.
even notice. I just like, huh? Why are you ranting about it? Oh my god, I'm gonna
Well,
read something.
well, first, I mean, do you want to explain to the audience what the Jade mechanic is before
Oh,
we go on any
okay.
further?
So Jade is like super powerful. Like, we all know that like other stones don't do much, and gold is basically meaningless. Like, anyone can get gold, and like I just have like 40,000 like hanging out in my account, and it's just totally worthless. But Jade is very very useful. Like, in game, right? You can't trade gold to pay to win in game. Only real money helps you do that. Instead, with the Jade mechanic, you basically create these Jade golems, and the best way I can explain Jade Golems is that they're like those Russian dolls, but like in reverse. So they get progressively bigger. So the first one you summon is like the little doll, which is like the 1/1, and the next one you summon is going to be a 2/2, and the next one is going to be a 3/3, and the next one's going to be a 4/4, and you have all these cards that say like summon a Jade Golem, or like summon two Jade Golems, or summon a Jade Golem and give a taunt. So that's the Jade Golem mechanic, and the Jade Golems are going to destroy the arena in very interesting ways. But you can see it's kind of a snowball mechanic, right? Like, if you have one Jade Golem card, it just gives you a 1/1. Like, that the ability to get a Jade Golem just gives you a 1/1. But if you have like two of them in your deck, then no matter when you played the first one, the second one is going to give you a 2/2, and so on and so forth.
Yeah, so that was a very long-winded way of explaining the mechanic. Thank you. Um, Here's the thing about the Jade Golem mechanic that I find really frustrating. First of all, it is a the first of its kind that we have seen because it's not just synergy, right? So
Yes,
here's the
that's
way
the
that I
important thing. It is not synergy. You can play it
no.
anytime. It's like a thing from below stuff.
Yeah, kind of. Okay. This is the first of what I would refer to as a network synergy.
Hmm.
And on Twitter before, I was ranting about it as a two-way synergy versus one-way synergies. But I'll define it as a network synergy. And let's look at it compared to other synergies. So let's look at a beast synergy, right? Like let's look at a Houndmaster, right? Houndmaster, that's a beast synergy for hunters.
Hmm.
We all know it. We've all seen it. So Houndmaster, that is a one-way synergy because you need a beast, and then the Houndmaster gives a synergy, the beast takes the synergy, and then it's over, right?
Right.
Like that's it. It is a one-way synergy that gets used up.
Yep.
And that is a typically when we think of like 99% of synergies, that is what we think about,
Hmm.
right? Where like Mech Warper gives a reduced cost to like other mechs, right? Like, and this broadens it, but it's still of that sort.
Okay,
This
just
is
in
the
case, I realize this conversation is getting like a little ahead of it because I want to give two example cards, right? Just to show,
sure.
just in case there's listeners out there who have who have no idea what this is, and we're not describing it too well. You really got to see these cards to see how they're valued. So I'm going to present. We'll start with the paladin. Sorry, the shaman. The shaman has a card called Jade Lightning, which is 4 mana, deal 4 damage, summon a Jade Golem. So that's how these cards are valued, right? Like 4 mana, 4 damage, not great, okay. Summon a Jade Golem to summon a 1/1. That makes the card pretty good, right? Because now you get something extra with your 4 damage. Still not great, but if you summon a 2/2 with it, it becomes like a lot better. So that's an example. That's a common shaman card. And we will also look at let's do a common rogue card. Jade, let's do the Jade Swarmer. It's a 2 mana 1/1 stealth with a death rattle that says summon a Jade Golem. So, again, depending on when you're summoning this Jade Golem, it could be good, it could be bad. But these are what these cards look like. Okay,
Yep.
continue with your rant.
So here is the problem, sort of, with the Jade Golem mechanic. The Jade Golem mechanic, I think, is just very unhealthy for the arena in general. What now? Notice I said unhealthy, right? Unhealthy doesn't mean if it's good or bad. The problem with the Jade Golem mechanic is whether it is good or whether it is bad, it will always be bad for the arena. That's just my opinion, and I'll explain these two scenarios,
Okay.
right? So I'm saying whether it's good or
Scenario
whether
1, Jade Golem is great.
so let's say in the first scenario, Jade Golem is great, right? It is completely OP, and we've seen a lot of these cards. We haven't seen all of them, but let's say it's completely OP, right? Like it is fantastic. Then what happens? What happens to the game that we know and love? It becomes a Jade Golem fiesta, right? Like
Yes.
because they are so good, because of this network synergy, what ends up happening is the 3 classes that draft for these Jade synergies, it ends up being who drafts more Jade cards and who plays more Jade cards in the scenario in which Jade Golem cards are good, right? And this is a situation that you don't want. The good thing about one-way synergies, as I was talking about, is there's a cap to them, and it's not exponential, right? After you use up the Houndmaster synergy, it is used up.
Yep.
You can only get so much. There's a ceiling to how good the Houndmaster synergy is. It is only a matter of increasing your percentage to hit that, right? The Jade Golem exponentially increases because the power increases and the frequency
So
increases.
let's break down what Merms means for this in case you guys
Sure.
are confused. So what happens is what he's saying is in a normal synergy, if I give +1/+1 to a something, first of all let's take into account the fact that this is a thing from below type synergy. It is a type synergy or like where you play something and at any point it affects what happens later on, right? Like you don't have a hero power, so you can't totem up that way, but any totems you play in the game will matter. So that makes it a lot easier to get this synergy. It means any card that you put into your deck that has a Jade Golem, as long as you draw that card and play it, it will have a synergy with any other Jade Golem card you draw and play. You don't have to like do anything crazy with it. You don't have to set it up. You don't have to like hold them in your hand because in the arena it's kind of hard to hold cards in your hand. So you don't have to like put it on the board and they'll remove it. Now you can't buff it or whatever. The synergy is guaranteed as long as you see these cards in the game. That makes them I have exact numbers, but I'm not going to reveal them. But that makes them just a ton more, like way more than double. We'll just leave it at that. A chance to hit than a regular synergy. Now, on top of that, a regular synergy would give +1/+1. A Jade Golem synergy would give +1/+1 eventually for every other Jade card that is in your deck that you draw. So if, let's say, you have like 4 Jade Golem cards in your deck, and you're going to end up drawing 3 of them over the course of the game, that means the first one has buffed the second and third one by +1/+1, by like the +1/+1 to each of them. So actually it's +2/+2. If you have, let's say, 8 Jade Golem cards in your deck, well, now it's going to buff +7/+7. So your Jade Golem card, the synergy, is now worth +7/+7.
Right.
And remember, if you play it out of order, if you play the other cards first and then you play this card, it will get the buff from the other cards. So this network for each card will always generate +7/+7.
Yeah, you're not only increasing the frequency, you're increasing the power, right? You're increasing frequency, and you're basically increasing every single aspect of a synergy by drafting and by playing any one of these cards. So that's a scenario where, you know, if these cards are good, right? If these cards are good, if they're worth it for you to draft, you are drafting them and just saying, like, please RNG, give me the most of these, like more of these cards than my opponent, and let me draw more of these than my opponent, and I will be favored to win.
This is like a really hard card to think about in a vacuum. Like, I had to work out so many like probabilities and numbers and offering odds and all that stuff to like value these cards. But like they're actually very complicated to do, despite the fact that when you're actually playing them, they're like ridiculously easy to play.
Yeah. So, and I mean, that's awesome, right? These are like, that's a mechanic that Blizzard loves. Like, very hard to sort of break it down and you know, to think about it nitty gritty, but really easy to play. Like, anyone picking it up is like, oh, that's pretty cool, and they just play it. Anyways, let's go to a scenario where these cards are bad, right? These cards are bad, then that's also terrible for the arena because it's basically not worth it for you to pick, right? So you don't pick it, and the cards are just bad. Like this should be a pretty simple explanation.
So it's scenario like, 1, it's great. It overpowers the entire arena because it's a network synergy. Scenario 2, it's not good, and then you have a bunch of mediocre cards floating around. And so for at least this expansion, right, this expansion with the offering bonus, these classes are all going to be crap.
They're all going to be really bad. Now, you could say, Merps, what if it's perfectly balanced, right? And I'll just say that because of the structure of these synergies, that is a really, really fine line. Like, it's a very, very fine line because of the way that these sort of build up on themselves. A very, very balanced Jade mechanic is really tough to get because even if it's slightly favorable for you to draft them,
it doesn't matter. It's more, it's variance. In the arena, it doesn't exist. You cannot have a balanced Jade Golem mechanic. You cannot have it because by the time you get to 5-0, the Jade Golem decks that you're going to face are all going to be heavily unbalanced because the variance tilts it exponentially so high in both directions, or rather just in one direction. In the other direction, it's just near 0, which is kind of a set floor. But it can go exponentially high the other way, which means that if you're like just drafting, for example, and you're wondering like, oh, maybe like if I don't get the Jade Golem cards, this is a bad synergy card that will like not be great and it's just average. Do I pass it up for whatever card? You also have to think the upside is endless. There's actually an endless upside.
Yeah.
And like I said, right, it's a very easy to play upside kind of deck. So the Jade Golem mechanic, and this is the exact opposite of Grimy Goons, which I think is funny because Grimy Goons are supposed to be like, you know, like the knuckleheads who like walk out and like, you know, crush skulls and like do the dirty work. And Jade Golems will see this like mysterious, like, you know, I don't know, thievery kind of like shadowy kind of things that you would think takes more skill. But no, Jade Golem like bashes you over the head with a very simple mechanic, and the Grimy Goons buff hand mechanic actually takes a lot of like turn planning and like strategy to like execute. But yeah, so the Jade Golem is just like, imagine it's perfectly balanced, and on average, each of your Jade Golem cards will be worth like an above average arena card, right? That's pretty balanced for a class card.
Sure. Yeah.
What that means is when you get to that 5-0 deck, let's say your opponents are going to have like 2 more Jade cards in their deck than the normal Rogue would. Well, that's not going to be the same as having 2 more mechs in a deck. That's not going to be the same as having 4 more mechs in a deck. That's going to be like, I can't even say the number for it because it's a network synergy. So you can add as many mechs to the deck as you want. It will not be as ridiculous and disgusting of a deck as just adding a few more Jade Golems into your deck. And it is very possible to get a few more Jade Golems in your deck because of variance. No matter how you balance it, the variance, unless Blizzard inserts a mechanic where the more Jade Golem cards you pick, the less frequency you have of being offered Jade Golem decks, Jade Golem cards, which is weird and counterintuitive, and they're not going to do that. There's no way to balance it. This means whenever you get high in the arena, like, you can balance Jade Golems for the average deck. You can balance it if you're going 3-3. But for people who average like 7 wins, this is not balanced. Because the opponents you're going to face is not balanced. And for people who average like, if you're not infinite or whatever, but you want 12 wins, this is going to be the best time, the easiest time ever to get 12 wins. Because you just have to roll a good deck and then play it normally, and you will defeat so many other decks.
Yeah. I mean, a Jade deck has a lot of power, and like you said, not too much decision making to make in order to extract that power. But yeah, so that's basically what I've laid out, right? Like, this is essentially what it's going to come down to. Notice I haven't said whether it is going to be good or bad, because look, I'm going to refrain from actually calling it right
I'm
now.
calling it. It's going to be insane.
Look,
totally
I'm going to refrain
insane
from calling it just because I haven't seen all of the cards, and I want to know exactly. Like, there's always a chance that they could change the offering bonus or do something funky with the offering bonus.
Okay, let's put it this way. We know all the cards for Shaman. It's going to be insane in Shaman.
Sure. Yeah.
We know enough cards in Rogue that I know it's going to be insane in Rogue. And it's going to be still pretty good in Druid.
So stop. You're assuming there's an offering bonus.
Okay,
right?
so I'm assuming there is at least, at a minimum,
yes,
the same offering bonus as Karazhan had.
Right. Because without the offering bonus, it's a whole different story.
Well, yeah. Well, obviously. This is so hugely offering bonus dependent.
Well, no. You say obviously, but I want to make sure the listeners know.
Okay, yeah. Right? So this is assuming that there is an offering bonus of like more than plus 100%, which is what Karazhan's was.
Right. And that's what makes it like. I do agree. If there's an offering bonus, and if the other cards that come out, don't do anything like super crazy, I do think that it is going to be very, very good in the arena. But like, I just want to make that clear that it doesn't matter. Like, it's just not a great mechanic. Period.
But like, you mean it's not a well-designed mechanic for the arena in terms of balance?
Yes, in terms of balance.
It's gonna be fun though. It's gonna be fun. I hope what they do is they put the offering bonus in, and then like in the new year they just take it away, because by the new year people are gonna be really hating on these Jade Golems because they're gonna be destroying the arena, and they could just take away the offering bonus, and then these cards are gonna be like totally balanced and non-spectacular. But before then, this is gonna be like awful, like an awful play on the arena. Similar to, you remember when it was really easy to play something that was also really powerful?
Keeper of Oldemon?
Oh, I was thinking before with the Murloc Knights. But yeah, and Keeper of Oldemon. Like, that was the Paladin time, right? Where, like, we keep saying Paladins aren't that good, but, like, you see more Paladins than even Mages, and they do quite well because it's so easy to play that you can get, like, above average players, and they'll play it nearly the same way like a pro would play.
Right. Well, this is why Blizzard comes out. It's like a Paladin is fine. They're actually the statistically like third best
Yeah,
class.
because they're easy to play. They're not fine.
Not, yeah.
But it's so easy. But I'm not like, you're never worried about the Paladin because they just release cards and the Paladin's fine. Like, it's hard to make bad cards for the Paladin. Like, they had to try to make bad cards for the Paladin, just because what the Paladin stands for, right? It's like what, buffs and like dudes and divine shields. That's all like very good for the arena, and you have some weapons. Like, there's very few mechanics for the Paladin that actually don't work out incredibly well in the arena. Anyway, that's a huge tangent. We're gonna look at some of these Jade Golem cards, and I'm gonna start with my favorite one here, actually. And this is This is my favorite one because it is. I want to make sure this is right before I say this, and it's like recorded for all of posterity. Okay. Yeah. It is the highest rated for our tier list. And remember, we're going to give you all. We're going to try. We'll see if the video gets out in time. But we're going to try to release all the scores before everything's actually like released this time around, and see if we can like beat the timing on it. But this is, I believe, currently the best class common that has been revealed so far. And they revealed most of the class common so far in the entirety of MSG. And on top of that, it will actually be the best card for this class in the common category, period, out of any card. So they have released a card in the Jade set that will be better than any. We haven't seen this in a while, where you have a common card that is better than all the other commons for a particular class. And this is going to be Rogue, and it is the Jade Shuriken.
Yeah. Wait. So when you first categorized it, I forget exactly what words you used, but you phrased it in a way that made it seem like it was going to be the best common class card out of this entire set. That's not true.
Yeah, it is. Or to the extent that we know. Like, there are some common class cards that haven't been revealed yet, so we don't know them. But of the ones that exist, yeah. So, this is going to be.
I went through this. I thought that we still had a couple of other class commons.
Am I missing these? What would be
the priest.
Oh, right.
Yeah. So that's not true. That's not true.
Yeah, that's not true.
It's not true at all.
I discounted priest. I don't even think of priest the same way I think about the other classes for this expansion.
So that's not true at all.
Okay, that's not true at all. Take that back. Okay, but
Jeez.
priest aside, I literally just like took priest out of the equation. Whenever I'm thinking about things, I just don't look at priest because they're in such a different league in this new expansion that's coming.
That was terrible. When you were saying it, I'm like, why is he saying it? That's like just actually not
lying.
true. I'm like, he must have misphrased it. Like
No, I just forgot that priest was a class because in my mind, priest is now no longer in the same category as all the other classes. Like, you know how like at a certain point in Karazhan it was like mage and then like everyone else? That's gonna be priest. So that's already not in my head. So all the other 8 classes, this is the highest one. And more importantly, I think this Jade Shuriken is gonna be the best rogue card. Period.
With the offering bonus.
With the offering bonus. And in commons. You know, obviously it's not better than the Dark Iron
because
Stalker.
we don't want people to misinterpret it. With an offering bonus, if there is one, assuming that it is like
more than 100%, more than plus 100%, yes. And so, what is the Jade Shuriken for our listeners? It is a 2-mana spell that says deal 2 damage, combo, summon a Jade Golem. It's a very simple card. It deals 2 damage for 2 mana, which is pretty crappy. A lot of you have a lot of bad cards that deal 2 damage for 2 mana. But it also summons a 1/1, which is okay, right? You'd still rather have a Dark Bomb than a combo with a 1/1 Jade Golem. But once you stack the other Jade Golems, this is an insane card.
Yeah, I mean, look how good SI7 Agent is, right? And
this is 2 mana.
Yeah, this is 2 mana. Obviously, if you use it at the beginning, you're not getting as big of a body.
But you're buffing all your later cards.
You're buffing all your later.
You're having delayed tempo and card advantage gains. But you're still having these gains. So if you play it early on, as long as you combo it, you kind of have to combo it. It's pretty stupid to not combo it in this meta.
Yes.
Just because it sets you up so well for later on. So you could just even use it in the mid game. There's just no wrong time to use these cards. There's nothing you have to think about. That's what's stupid about these cards. They are brainless cards. You always want minions on the board. You always want to set up Jade Golems for later Jade Golems. All you got to do is trigger it.
Yeah. So, I mean, this card, you don't have to, read too far into it to see that it will be a good card. But, with the offering bonus, basically we're saying that it will be absolutely insane.
This will be the best common card. Not by like a ton or whatever, right? You just think of it as like a backstab eviscerate, but like it'll technically be better than them.
Yeah. And when you say the best common card, you mean
In Rogue, in Rogue.
right. Like so. There are a few things, like a lot of statements that we make right now, like have some attachment to it, right?
Right.
And I
They
just
have a
want to
lot of
make sure.
context to it.
Yeah, yeah, and I just want to make sure because I don't want like people will suddenly on like the arena subreddits to be like, oh my gosh, like Adulta Merp's calling this the best card in the history of Hearthstone.
Better than Doctor Boom. Better than Deathwing.
Yeah, yeah,
It's
that's
not.
not
It's
it.
it's not even close to Dark Iron Skulker. Dark Iron
But
Skulker, I think we have higher than Deathwing, and definitely higher than Doctor Boom.
I don't know,
Anyway.
but that card is too stupid. That card
Okay.
is really stupid. Anyways, moving on.
And in case you were doubting my abilities with Rogue, I am averaging something like more than 10 wins per run with Rogue in Karazhan. So I know my way around the Rogue in this meta, and this is exactly what the Rogue wants. This
Well,
fits into everything that the Rogue does, and it's a Jade
sure.
combo.
I mean, in this meta and in every like, damage is always good.
Yeah.
Damage is always good. Let's
But
face
more
it.
importantly, damage that puts a small body on the board.
Oh
Like,
yeah.
that is what you want as the Rogue. Because what did they get rid of, right? When they nerfed up the cards, they got rid of cards that put a small body on the board and damaged.
Right.
And they did
got
that
rid
for
of
a
two
reason.
key cards.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they did that for a good reason. They did that because those were what was making Rogue really powerful.
Yep. Indeed.
Okay, so the next common Rogue card was the Jade Swarmer, which we talked about briefly before. 2 mana, 1/1 stealth, Death Rattle, summon a Jade Golem. It's not terribly impressive compared to the Jade Shuriken, but you are going to be able to play it because it is a Jade card. Like, even if you just play it as deal 2 damage, right? Like, deal 1 damage on the next turn, and then, get a 1/1 Jade Golem and deal it some other turn. Now you set up your other Jade cards.
Yeah. It's perfectly fine. So you look at it in the worst case scenario, it's 1/1 Death Rattle, summon a 1/1.
Which is
That's
Possessed
you know
Villager with stealth.
right. It's understated, and it's not worth it. But like the amount that it's not worth it here compared to the buff that you get with your other cards, it's really good, right?
And the
Like
fact
really,
that
really
it's
good.
stealth is really good, because as the Rogue, so often you want to like set things up so that you can do something to flip the board in the mid game.
Right, right.
Like, that's what the Rogue does. That's also why, Jade Shuriken does what it does so well in the Rogue. It just fits into that whole thing you want to do. So, you don't need to get this Jade Golem out immediately. Just in the same way, you don't need to, like, pop your Argent Squire immediately. Like, just let it be. You can keep it stealth, you can hit your opponent to the face. Either way, it's an annoying thing to put out there. And remember, the Jade Golem, don't think like, oh, this Jade Golem's only going to be a 1/1. It buffs everything else that comes after it. Like,
Yep.
it's not done when it's a 1/1. Like, it's tempting to think, oh, because I'm just getting a 1/1 here, it's my next card that has the synergy, right? It's not this card. But no, this is the card that's giving you the synergy. This is the card that's the necessary part to the synergy. Your other card may be getting it, but it's a network synergy, so you need a lot of these to be able to pump the other ones up.
Right. Or you play this in the mid game, and by that time you've had like 4 Jade synergies already, and then it's just like Death Rattle, summon a 5/5.
Oh, God. Let's put it this way: if you're trying to think about the offering odds for these cards, consider like, remember when Firelands Portal was like everywhere, right? Now imagine that there's like 2 of them in the common
Right.
slots, and then there's another class card that's not as good, but that's the tri card, and then there's like a rare card. Like, just think about that. Now think about that. You're almost always going to pick these cards. Like, unless they're up against, like, a super... Like, if it's a Backstab or a Jade Swarmer, I'm going to take a Backstab. I'm not taking a Jade Swarmer. But most other cards, I'm going to take a Jade Swarmer.
Yeah, it's gonna be pretty good.
So, yeah. That's...
And later on in the draft, if you already have like 5 Jade cards by pick 15, and now it's Jade Swarmer versus a Backstab,
Oh,
you're
it's Jade
taking the
Swarmer.
Yeah.
Yeah, Backstabs are stupid when you have that
Backstabs are
many...
dumb at
Yeah.
that point. It's
Oh,
like, yes,
no.
I would like a 2 mana 1/1 stealth plus a 6/6. Thank you.
Exactly. Okay. So more rogue cards. You know what? Let's do the Jade one first. There's a Jade one, right? Or is there no Jade one? Oh, there's no more Jade ones. Okay. Anyway, let's okay. So let's go through the rare cards. I forget if there is no okay. There is no rare Jade card for the rogue. So I misspoke on that. There's a rare Jade card for the other two classes. Okay. Anyway, Shadow Sensei is a rare card for the rogue. It is a 4-mana 4/4 battle cry. Give a stealth minion +2/+2. Kind of insane if you have a stealth minion.
Yeah.
And you can set up stealth minions because they're stealth. They're not going to get removed. And your Panther fits. Your Silent Knight. It's really good.
Yeah, Silent Knight is the better target here.
Yeah.
Panther still suffers the problem that it has 4 health, right? Hitting into something.
But if you're buffing it by 4 stats, who cares? Is kind of the point, you know? Like, who cares what you're buffing?
I'm just
you're
saying
just getting
the
such a huge
Panther
bonus.
stat distribution is not as great on the board a lot of times.
Yep. So that's Shadow Sensei. You can buff your Tiger. Look, you're not going to always get it. There's not that many stealth minions in the game. You're going to get, like, maybe 1 every deck. If you have a Shadow Sensei, maybe you pick it a little higher. You can't really just keep saving your stealth minion in order to, like, wait to draw your Shadow Sensei. That doesn't work because you're going to take too much face damage. You're going to die. But when you can, when it works out, it's a pretty insane tempo swing.
This is basically just a fine arena card, right? Like, it's going to be good. You know, you're going to draft it.
It's going to be good. Okay. So next we have another rare card, Rogue. Gadget Exam Ferryman. It's a 2-mana 2/3 combo. Return a friendly minion to your hand.
Yeah.
Woohoo!
Look, I saw the response on social media when this got released. There were a lot of jokes about it. All right, look, it's not like a world beater, but in the arena you need 2 drops, right? It's a 2-drop. And unlike the Brewmaster, you can choose whether or not to combo it, right?
Yep.
So
it's a flat bonus.
It's fine. Yeah, it's fine. It's a pure bonus in that sense.
Yep.
And like we said, 2 drops are important in the arena. Not so much for the rogue, but you still need some. You can't always just say I'm gonna dagger. So look, it's draftable. It's like
it's fine.
It's a fine card. Yep.
Counterfeit Coin is our last rare card. It's a coin. It's a coin that is a card.
Wow. Great analysis, man. We actually did do like a Lightforge on the coin itself, but less so on the value of the coin and more so on how to use the coin.
Yeah.
Because we never debated whether you would draft a coin or not. But now you have that choice, and you probably won't draft it that often. Let me just tell you that.
You will not draft the coin that often. Because think about how often you want to innervate. Now, reduce its value by half. It's like, think about how often you want, like, I don't know, like a 4/4 for 4 mana. Okay, now reduce it by half and pretend it's a 2/2 for 4 mana. How often do you want that? It's like that. You don't want it. You want to avoid it. Alright, and then for epics, we have this Lotus Assassin, more with the stealth mechanic. I like that they're making the rogues work more with the stealth mechanic.
I do too, yeah.
It's good. It's flavorful. It's 5 mana, 5/5, stealth. Whenever this attacks and kills a minion, gain stealth.
Yeah, look, it's a better Tiger, right?
It's a much better Tiger.
Yeah, it's a Tiger with upside. Because how many times do you, like, kill a Yeti, right? Kill off a Yeti, and then it just gets revenge killed, pinged off or something. This is good. Like, this can possibly ensure 2 kills. Yeah, you're going to draft this quite often in the epic slot if you see it.
Yep. Yeah, it's quite good. Okay, so that's Rogue. And I think it's very good for the whole Jade mechanic thing. But we'll see. And keep in mind, so Jade is snowbally, but like even if the Jade mechanic doesn't work out as well as like we're predicting, it's still gonna be up there. Like I have it mapped out to the point where I know like how it'll work depending on what the offering bonus is and where these cards are rated and what they're drafted. it all kind of affects each other. But as long as there's an offering bonus at all, these are pretty good. Like these are like pretty premium, like high up in the premium sections. Even if you take the offering bonus like totally away, these are still like decent cards. Like the best way I could put it is like the Jade Shuriken is still a premium card, for example, even if you take away the offering bonus. It's not like an Eviscerate or anything, but it's still going to be up there.
Right.
Anyway, just saying, this is gonna be game changing. You're gonna see these in the arena all over the place. You're gonna hate it, and you're gonna draft it, and you're gonna be like, oh, remember when Rogue used to be a skill based class? Okay, let's move on to Shaman. Jade Lightning, which we went over before, is the staple card for common Jade cards in the Shaman. 4 mana, 4 damage, summon a Jade Golem.
Really good. Look, let's compare it with Stormcrack, right? Stormcrack costs an effective 3 mana, right? 2 mana on this turn, 1 overload, deal 4 damage, and that's only to a minion. This deals 4 damage. You could go face with it. You probably will go face with it a decent amount of time. And so it basically costs 1 more mana than a Stormcrack, and you summon a Jade Golem, and you get the additional option to go face with it. That's pretty good, man.
Very good.
This is a card that you're gonna draft like quite a lot.
This is gonna be like another super premium Shaman card. You're gonna take it over your other removals. Then there is Jade Chieftain, is your other common Jade card for Shaman. It's a 7 mana 5/5. And it has a battle cry that says summon a Jade Golem, give it taunt. So the Jade Golem gets the taunt.
Right. Look, this card is it's okay. Like basically all right. So what's holding it back? Because we've been saying Jade cards are amazing, like they're great, right? And with the offering bonus, the problem with this card is you really are paying like quite a lot. Like you are. The
problem with this card is that they're expecting it to be so good because you have a 30/30 taunt. Because you're a constructed deck and you've done something crazy before.
Right.
And you can't. Because, okay, also in constructed, getting a huge body that doesn't do anything isn't as good as in arena getting a huge body that doesn't do anything. So, the way the card design works is tilted towards that. So the fact that this Jade Golem has a taunt really, like, changes its valuation. And so, this card doesn't quite make the cut of, like, super good, like, Jade cards. But it's not, like, unplayable at all. If you've played another Jade card by this point, which you probably will have, then it's fine.
Yeah, look, it's going to be okay. Just tough to extract that super value, right? Like, the thing with Jade Shuriken and Jade Lightning is it's really not that tough to extract value out of these. With Jade Chieftain, for its cost and for what you do, you really do want a little bit more of an effect. And, you know, part of what makes Jade Lightning and Jade Shuriken really good is that it has initiative, right?
Yeah.
And even though this has taunt, it's not really the same thing. Yeah, you're impacting the board a little bit, but you're investing a lot of mana to not gain sort of a real impact.
Like, it's not undraftable. You'll draft it, but, like, I take my curve cards over this guy, definitely.
Right. And look, and this changes if you, like I said, if I picked 15 or 20 of tons of Jade cards, right? And you're like, okay, I'll summon like a 5/5 and another 5/5 with taunt for 7 mana. That's pretty good. But otherwise, it's just kind of like meh. Yeah. And obviously, this is assuming offering bonus still. After the offering bonus is gone, this card is so.
Yeah, it falls into like the category of bad cards after the offering bonus is gone.
All right.
Okay, so now you have the last common Shaman card, 4 mana, call in the finishers, summon 4 1/1 Murlocs. So it's like this is the arena. You're not gonna get these Murloc synergies. Yeah, it's muster for Murlocs. It's whatever that Paladin card is, but for 4 mana.
Stand against Murlocs.
Yes, stand against Murlocs. There we go. You know what these cards are worth. They're just kind of normal-ish cards. Not too much
Yep.
to say about it. It is going to sort of give Shaman another 4-drop to play with, but this time it's like actually a 4-drop. It's not like a 4-drop that overloads. So you're going to actually pick this card probably more often than you want, just because you'll need 4-drops. Remember what we kept saying. We've been saying this the entire time since we've seen the neutrals, and it hasn't really broken that pattern. There are no drops. Like, this entire expansion has like no drops. That's going to be awful for your curve. And so you're going to need to fill them in with some of these class cards. And Calling the Finishers is like a bad 4-drop. So it's going to be offered enough that you're going to take it enough times, especially when you start seeing your curve. And you know what happens with the Shaman curve, right? You have all these like 4-mana cards that aren't 4-drops because they require you to do something else with 4 mana the next turn. So, you know, you'll see. Okay, now for the card that I don't like. Blizzard needs to stop making these cards. Rare card, Shaman. If you thought the Jade Shuriken was good, you ain't seen nothing yet. This is the Shaman's answer to the Jade Shuriken, and it is better than the Jade Shuriken by a fair amount. It is Jade Claws. It's a rare, though, so it's not going to be everywhere in the arena. It's not going to totally ruin the arena the way Jade Shuriken is.
Though.
But oh yeah,
Every time.
Oh yeah, this is gonna be like the best Shaman card. Actually, I don't know. It may not be. I don't know about like the Thunderblood Valiant and your. That's gonna be better than a Fire Elemental, right? Like how Jade Lightning is gonna be better than a Fire Elemental. Jade Claw is gonna be way better than a Fire Elemental.
Well, like right now, I think Stormforge Axe is better than a Fire Elemental.
Yeah, exactly. Because you need the impact early. So okay,
right.
So what is Jade Claw? It is a weapon. It is 2 mana. It is 2 attack. It is 2 charges. It's a 2/2 weapon for 2. Battle Cry, summon a Jade Golem, and it overloads 1.
So it is exactly like a Stormforge Axe, and you sacrifice 1 charge for a Jade Golem.
The last charge, the bad charge.
Right. And that's insane. That's so insane. That's so freaking good, man. Yeah. Even if
the Jade Golem is just a 1/1, I take that deal.
Right. I would take that deal. Exactly. Even if it's just a 1/1, I'm like, okay, a front-loaded 1/1, sacrificing that for my last charge of the weapon, like, yeah, I will take that right now. And it's that's in the worst case scenario. If it's a 1/1 and you don't have anything else, right?
Yeah, it has to be a 1/1, and you have to have literally no other Jade cards in your entire deck.
Basically, look, if it's the last pick of the draft and you suddenly, you look back at your deck and you're like, I actually have no Jade cards. Like, I've for some reason, I've just avoided all Jade cards. You still take this over, basically any other card. Because it's so freaking good. It basically is a Stormforge Axe that's better.
Yes.
Even if it just generates a 1/1, which is absolutely sickening.
Yes.
So, yeah, guys, I'm not so happy. This is one of those
cards where you look at it and you're like, well, Muster for Battle, Coghammer, meet your counterpart, Glaive Zuka. It's on that caliber of weapons that just should not be in the arena.
No, definitely not. But look, it's in the arena. It's a rare. Why do they keep giving Shamans these early game weapons? Early game weapons are so powerful.
Yeah.
They shouldn't have them. They really shouldn't.
Or they should have ones that are not that good. Because all the Shaman early game weapons are also insane, right? It's not like... It's like they take other classes' weapons and they're like, but what if it just made it so much better? Alright. Other rare card for Shaman. 4 mana, 3/6. Overload 1. Remember what I was talking about? Those 4 mana cards that you think are 4-drops but are actually going to overload 1 and force you to have another 4-drop? Introducing another one. Jinyu Water Speaker. Battle Cry, restore 6 health. 4 mana, 3/6.
Look, it's a good card. It's gonna be fine. Yeah. You can't really think of it as a 4-drop though. That's the problem. Because if you think of it as a 4-drop, you're basically playing your 5 on your 4, right? And next turn you have to cobble together a 4. And it's a really good Battle Cry. Let's establish that. But on turn 4, it's probably not a really good Battle Cry.
Hearthstone works. Restore 6 health means you could target a minion. Just in case this is not clear.
Yeah. So this card is really good. It is very good. The problem is it is not great. Most of the time it is not going to be great on turn 4, right? even if you do get a heal off, it is going to be nowhere near the maximum amount
You're
that you
never gonna
heal.
get a near. You're never gonna heal anything for six
Right. Well,
health.
you have more of a chance when you're going on like turn 7,
Mm-hmm.
right? Obviously.
Yep.
So yeah, yeah. Like so, this card,
Like it's
it's very
good.
good.
It's not
Very
like
good. Yeah.
think about that. I'm blanking on the name, but there's a priest card that's 5 mana, 4/5 heals.
Darkstar Alchemist.
Yeah, Darkshire Alchemist. It's like the
Yeah.
same thing, right? This is basically 5 mana. You don't want to play it on 4 anyway, but you can in a pinch. And that heals for 5. This heals for 6. This overloads 1, has a 3/6 instead of a 4/5 distribution. It's pretty comparable.
Pretty similar. Yeah,
Yeah.
pretty comparable. Yeah, but Darkshire Alchemist is a very good card, right? So
No.
it's just I like how they made it 4 mana. So what happens is you can't play your 4 mana 7/7 and then play this on the next
Yeah,
turn.
because that's the one you want to heal, but
That's the one you want to heal, exactly.
you
And that's the one that
can
you
play
can
your
heal.
Fireguard Destroyer and then heal that
Ah,
one.
good.
That's 6 health. That's pretty good.
Yeah, but that's only a 4 mana like 7/6.
Oh, it's true. It's not a 7/7.
Nope.
And now my favorite card. This is so far my favorite card in terms of the actual like effect, not the flavor of anything released so far. It is a 2 mana spell. It's called Devolve. It's a shaman rare, and it says transform all enemy minions into random ones that cost 1 less mana. So it's like evolve, but for your opponents, and it costs 2 mana instead of 1.
Yeah, so this is a card in which when we were evaluating, Adulta definitely likes this card a
I
lot more
love this
than me.
card. Oh, I love this card.
Explain your reasoning.
Okay. I think it's a very simple reason, right? You see a problem, it's gone. Any problem, it's gone. You see multiple problems, they're all gone. And if you just take, like, let's say you take, like, a normal card that your opponent will draft, right? Like a Yeti or something that's pretty good. You devolve it, it's going to, on average, come out to be like a 3/3. So you're taking away 3 stats, on average, for anything that you devolve. Like, period. And then you get rid of stuff like, death rattles or like taunts or just like anything that's problematic. And you're probably going to have like somewhat of a board. It only affects the enemy, so it's not like you're like fully off the board and you devolve. It doesn't do anything, right? But when you have some stuff on the board, if they have like a injured minion or like a battle cry minion or like totems or whatever, you can just like kill them first before you devolve. Like it doesn't really have a lot of downside. So yeah, it doesn't really kill anything, but it solves all of your problems. And usually, what are you doing with your removals? You're just holding them to solve problems. You're not really using them for tempo as often as you kind of just hang with them and say like, okay, let's wait to a situation where I really like flip the board or turn it.
Yeah, okay. So I don't really see it the same way here. Like the way I see it is like so number one, it's RNG. Number two, it's one of those cards that like for 2 mana, I just don't feel as if it does enough because with shaman like and with the weapons you have you're probably in charge of the board anyways and it's not it doesn't even remove a minion, right? Like you call it sort of a problem solver and yeah it does that in conjunction with other stuff. So you're paying 2 mana, you're paying a card and you still need other stuff to go with it. Like it's one of those cards that I just don't yes it can like really help you out in a pinch but like you still need other stuff and so I just don't see it having the same amount of value that you do.
Mm.
Yeah.
Well, I guess we'll see.
We'll
we're
see,
gonna
we'll
we're gonna
see.
start it off like pretty high, and then we may move it down once we play with it. But I'm pretty high on this card right now.
Yeah, like so you see Adulta and I have different like I think Evolve is supremely better than this card,
I think
right?
they're about the same.
I totally disagree with that. But this is one of the few that we definitely disagree with. But I've always been higher on Evolve than Adulta. And I mean I've used it to great effect. I've gotten totally wrecked by Evolve as well. I just think it's a very powerful card. I just don't see this having the same amount of impact and at 1 more mana,
No. Mm. I think this is probably one of the like candidates for like if you're looking at stuff on our tier list once we release it that could move down. This is going to be one of the prime candidates because it's hard to like really figure out how it works, and it's RNG.
Yeah.
So
It's
so it's probably going to move down a bit. It just depends on how much. We'll see though. And maybe I'll come around to it before we even release the tier list, and the score you're actually going to see is not actually going to be all that high because I've already moved it down. Haha. Okay. Let's move on to the last class in this Jade clan. And the last class in the Jade clan is the Druid, and I saved it for last because this is weird. Druids are weird. I don't know what they've been doing with the Druid, but the Druid's just been getting weirder and weirder. Okay. So the first common Jade card is a Jade Blossom. Jade Blossom. Jade Blossom says summon a Jade Golem. Gain an empty mana crystal. And it is 3 mana. So it's like a wild growth for 3 mana, but you get a Jade Golem, but you're cool with that because you're happy to kind of like pay 1 mana for a Jade Golem always. But you're also unhappy because you've lost 1 mana. Like, that you could ramp out 1 turn earlier with the Wild Growth to ramp out that mana.
They really made this an awkward card.
Yeah.
Like, this is really like okay, so this is where sort of the Jade Golem hype train stops a little bit for me. Because I'm just like, man, they really made this super awkward. At 3 mana, like, you really don't want to be playing this. Lots of times. And it's just like Wild Growth works a lot because like, it comes out early.
Keep in mind, if you save this to the end, you get a card back from it, and you still get a Jade Golem, which will be pretty big by then.
Yeah, you do. It's true, but like the ramp effect, like ramp is something.
Wait, I'm hearing from the chat that it doesn't cycle actually. So if it doesn't cycle, then it's total trash.
Like, so
I'm assuming it cycles.
No, that's what I had heard as well. I thought you got different info. Like, I thought it was established that it didn't cycle.
Oh, well then this is total trash. I will mark it then to be revalued. Yeah. If it really doesn't cycle, one, I don't know why it wouldn't cycle, because Wild Growth cycles. But
well, it just doesn't, like, a lot of stuff in this game just doesn't make sense. It just, yeah. So, anyways, assuming it doesn't cycle, like, even like putting that into consideration, this is a card in which like they made it perfectly awkward. Like at 3 mana, where yeah, you get the Jade Golem, but man, it just like I probably won't be drafting this very much, if at all.
Well, if it doesn't cycle, no one's drafting it. Oh god, it sucks if it doesn't cycle.
Yeah.
All right. Well, so much for the saving grace on that card. So that was Jade Blossom. Now you have Jade Behemoth. Jade Behemoth is a 6 mana 3/6
Behemoth.
I don't like the way it's pronounced that. It's not how it looks. Like,
a lot of
how
words
do you get he from
a lot of words aren't pronounced the way that they look.
Okay.
But you still pronounce it that way.
So the Jade Behemoth is a 3/6 taunt with a battle cry that says summon a Jade Golem.
Yeah. All right. Look. So Fen Creeper is 5 mana, right? Fen Creeper is a decent card. You know, you draft it sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that this thing has taunt makes it like great. Yes. Like you definitely want a 3/6 with taunt. Now, all right. So the Jade Golem train stopped a little bit at Jade Blossom, but it's moving again with the Jade Behemoth. Like,
so the problem with Druids and this whole Jade mechanic though is that if Jade Blossom is a hard stop on the Jade train, like it's just basically an unpickable card because of how bad it is, well then it stopped. Because at that point you're no longer like ramping to the like you're no longer building on the network the same way you do for the shaman and for the rogue. And when you're not building the network in that way, like when you're just like missing a card that you can conceivably play, because like look, no matter how bad Jade Chieftain is, it's a playable card, right? Like it may be that 7 mana thing you don't really want to draft, but like you'll take it if you have Jade cards. I'm not sure you'd even take Jade Blossom if you have Jade cards, if it's like if you don't get a card back from it.
I don't know if you can. It costs a little bit too much for what it does, which is not a lot.
Yeah. And then the Jade Behemoth is good, but again, it's not premium the same way those removals are, right? Like for the
Okay,
Shaman
well,
and the Rogue.
can you just call this like a jade elephant?
Okay. So the Jade Elephant is just not going to like it's not going to get the job done by itself, and that's the only other common card that has a Jade effect. So the Jade Train, I think, stops pretty hard for the Druid.
Yeah, I don't think Jade is a great mechanic for Druid because of, uh, yeah, Jade Blossom.
Yeah. Okay. So I had thought Jade Blossom was I was just misinformed. I guess I just assumed that it would actually get you a card back at the end. Uh, but if it does not, oh my god. Okay. And then the other common one, and the reason we know there's not going to be very good Jade cards coming is because we know the other ones. The other common Druid card is a 1 mana card that says give your minions +1/+1. So it's basically a cheaper Power of the Wild.
Mark of the Lotus.
Mark of the Lotus, yes, is what the card is called.
Yeah, so you basically get it's half of Power of the Wild, right?
Yeah.
Like you get half the options and half the mana.
But that's good because
It's
options you have to
it's good.
pick one or the other, you know?
Right,
Like
right.
imagine if this card said Mark of the Lotus 1 mana 3/2. Right?
Yeah, yeah.
Like it's definitely
no,
a
I
good
mean,
thing.
look, yeah, it's absolutely fine. You're going to draft it. I will gladly take a cheaper Power of the Wild.
Yeah.
So
It's great. I take it over a 2-drop any day.
yeah, yeah, it's great.
Um okay, so now we're going to finish off the Jade things for the Druid. Oh, this kind of sucks. This blows it for me because I thought the Druid was kind of like barely balanced, like even with Jade Blossom being, drawing a card. Now that it doesn't even draw a card, this whole thing is just all like dead to me.
It's all dead.
It's all dead to me. I don't know what use this entire Jade thing has now for the Druid. Oh, that actually
So
breaks things so hard. Okay, so the Jade Idol is 1 mana. Choose one. You either summon a Jade Golem for 1 mana, which is good, or you shuffle 3 copies of Jade Idol into your deck. You do not want to shuffle things into your deck as an arena player.
nope. Okay. The problem with okay, when we talk about card advantage is purely the cards you have in your hand. The cards in your deck are unavailable to you. They do not exist when we talk about card advantage. There is no such thing unlike in constructed where there's like fatigue advantage, right? Like I have 7 cards left to draw, you have none, so therefore like I'm gonna win based on fatigue. No, there's no such thing as that in the arena. So you shuffling cards into your deck via Gang Up, via Jade Idol, is the same thing as you saying, I'm gonna spend mana and lose a card.
Yep.
That's basically it.
Yep. I'm gonna spend 1 mana. I'm gonna not play this card. So like, think of Gang Up. This is Gang Up for 1 mana. Gang Up can cost 0 mana, and it's not playable. So, bad. Alright.
But well, you just summon a Jade Golem.
Yeah, you
right?
summon a Jade Golem. So it's a 1 mana, 1/1.
It's a one
But
mana
it's a Jade
summon a
Golem,
Jade
so
Golem.
it would be pretty good if you had a whole Jade mechanic going on, but you don't. Because you're a druid, and Blizzard hates you.
Well, no, they
I'm
just
kind
needed
of really
to-
bitter about this Jade Blossom thing.
Well, no. All they had to do was say Jade Idol, 1 mana, summon a Jade Golem. By the way, the Jade Golem is also a beast now.
Oh my god, that is so good. That would be insane. Are Jade
Yeah.
Golems even golems? Oh, sorry, golems aren't a type. I don't know
They're
what I'm
not a
thinking
type,
of.
man. They're not a type. I was like, yeah, they're a golem. I don't know why it matters
Okay.
if they're a golem.
Speaking of beasts, we have another rare card that deals with beasts for the druid. In case you think that with this Jade mechanic, Blizzard is abandoning the druid and the whole beast thing, they're not. They're still pushing beast and druid harder than in hunter. It's been a crazy last year for beast druid. It's 5 mana, 4/5, battle cry, give a friendly beast +2/+2
It's Houndmaster
for druid. But
for
better
Druid. It's a Houndmaster for Druid with like better,
stat distribution.
better stat distribution. Look, it's a good card, and you're gonna pick it, and you're gonna continue doing your beast things, right? You're gonna continue doing your beast things, and now you're able to, you're able to basically buff Beast on every single turn. Turn 4, you're gonna give it the Wild Walker buff. Turn 5, you're gonna give it +2/+2. Turn 6, you're gonna like
Yeah,
Menagerie
screw
Warden.
building golems. Just
Yeah,
keep
no,
building
look,
beasts.
no. This is why Druids saw Jade Golems. They're like, no, we got Beasts. We're good. Except you're not actually good because Rogues and Shamans are gonna hit you over the head with Jade Golems, and your Beasts are not gonna do anything, man.
Nope.
So
Nope.
yeah,
That's so bad. Poor Druid. Alright, we're now on the epics. Epics for Druid. 5 mana. Lunar Visions. Draw 2 cards. Minions drawn cost 2 less.
it's fine. Like, okay, think of it this way: you're drawing 2 cards, right? For 5 mana.
You should be getting 3.
Yeah, you should be getting 3. Now, you're gonna draw like it's pretty unlucky you're gonna draw no minions.
Yep.
Right? You draw 1 minion and it's basically like a Arcane Intellect,
Yep.
kind of, right?
Yep.
If you draw 2 minions, that's
Yay.
really good, right? Really, really good. And this is arena, so you're probably gonna draw at least 1 minion. You're gonna average out, I don't know, it's like 1 point whatever
Yeah.
minions. It's fine,
It's good.
you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah.
Like, would I take it over a curve card? Probably not. But it's fine.
Yeah. So on average, it is more mana efficient than Arcane Intellect, right?
Yeah. No.
So there you go. It's pretty good.
And I like it, because I think Druid needed more card draw. Like, just as a class.
Yeah, I
They were
agree.
falling behind a little on that one to their normal state. They're also falling a little behind on good cards to their normal state, and we're not fixing that problem, but okay, whatever. The thing is, according to Blizzard, with their stats, Druid actually performs really poorly. So you would think they would give Druid better cards. But they just, like, don't.
Yep.
Alright, Pilfered Power is the other epic Druid card. It's 3 mana. It says gain an empty mana crystal for each friendly minion.
Nope.
Yep, just a nope.
Just
So
no.
does this card cycle? I'm gonna throw this card
no.
doesn't cycle, right?
It doesn't cycle.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure
card
this
does
card
not.
definitely doesn't cycle. And so I don't
No,
know.
you're not. Nope. No,
It's just- it's just a
don't-
pointless
don't get
card.
this. Don't get this, guys.
This is like this is
Don't
a
do
really
it.
pointless card.
Nope. Do not draft this card. Never draft this card. Okay, look, if you can do the dream, right? Living Roots into like Murloc Tidehunter into this.
Wait, why not just more Living Roots?
I
Why would
don't
you
know.
ever play any? Why would if you were making your dream deck? Why are they not all Living Roots?
They're all Living Roots. Okay, so double Living Roots turn
And with a
1.
wisp.
Double Living Roots, okay, so on turn 1, you like Living Roots coin, Living Roots, and then Living Roots again, and then Pilfer Power into Yashiraj. There you go. Boom. And the rest of your deck are all like 10 like big fatties. So there you go. You just won the game. Congrats. Give yourself a round of applause. You did it. Pilfer Power, you're amazing.
Well, it actually works because Living Roots isn't a minion, so you would never like be able to pull it
Yeah,
from
no,
Yashiraj.
exactly. Living Roots is never a minion,
Yep.
and you just have spells and all that stuff, and you have like the best arena deck ever made.
This is
Congrats.
going to be like
You're a god.
literally one of the worst rated arena cards out here. Like I think Ancestor's
Yeah.
Call is still in the arena for some reason, right? Like I think this will challenge it for most useless card.
Ancestor's Call. Man, what a card.
Like, cause you know
Damn.
we try to like pretty scientifically value these cards these days, with the new tier list and the very specific ratings and the whole like absolute 0 centered on 50. Like everything's kind of there's a good base to everything, so it's pretty tight these days. But I don't even know what to do with this card. Like, I don't even know where to start in saying what is the value of this card possibly in the arena. It's going to be more than 0
Look,
because there
it's
is a
fine.
situation in which it can do something.
Right. Look, it's fine. It's one of those cards where it's like if you have to put it anywhere, put it in an epic, right?
Yep.
And they did.
Yep.
Cool. Thanks. That's it. that's all we can ask as arena players. Like if you're gonna make a card like this, put it in the epic pool where we almost never see it.
Yeah.
And they did. I'm very happy that they did.
Yep.
Great.
And finally, the Jade Spirit, which is the tri-class card. It is a 4 mana 2/3, and it summons a Jade Golem. So
Yeah.
whereas all the class cards, it kind of evens out in your like kind of math with the mana cost with a 1/1 Jade Golem, like kind of, and then with a 2/2 it becomes like a really good card. Here it evens out at 2/2.
Right. Which makes sense, right? We've seen
Yeah,
class cards can always be more powerful than sort of neutral-ish cards,
yeah,
and this is, it's a tri-class card, so it is sort of like a neutral card.
it's a neutral-ish card.
Yeah, it's a neutral-ish card. So yeah, look, this card, it depends on the offering bonus and it depends on sort of like the Jade synergy, right? Now, if we say that the Jade mechanic is going to be good, then you should draft these. You should draft a lot of these because, like, by the time you play this and by the time you play like your second one of these, it's going to be like 4 mana, 2/3, summon a 5/5 or something, which is pretty sickening. So yeah, like if the Jade mechanic itself is good, then even though you look at this, you're like, well, I need a 2/2 for it to be worth it, but you're going to get that 2/2, you're going to get a 3/3, and you're just going to snowball from there.
Yup. All right. So that's it for the cards we're doing. Oh, no. Okay. We got two more things we want to talk about. We're kind of running low on time. We keep getting carried away. I knew we were going to get carried away with the Jade mechanic. It's so interesting.
It's cards. It's us. Of course we're going to get carried away.
Okay, fine. But we should tell you about these two neutral commons that were revealed. It's actually going to impact the arena. I'll let you take the first one. Hosen Healer.
Oh, right. Sounds good.
It is a 4 mana 2/6, which doesn't sound so good, but the battle cry says restore a minion to full health. So remember
like
how
monkey
good
or something? No. I want to talk. It's like no. The card itself is really creepy. Do you not agree with me?
I agree.
For those of you who can't see it, it's like a meditating monkey, but it's got the creepiest like
empty, vacant
gaze.
expression.
Yeah, it's really scary. I'm just gonna try not to look at it. Anyways, Hosen Healer, 4 mana, 2/6, neutral minion, battlecry, restore a minion to full health. That's pretty good.
Remember that shaman card that was like 4 mana overload 1 and it was a 3/6 and you restored a minion to 6 health?
Right.
But like it can also heal face.
It can also heal face. That's the important part.
Yeah,
right?
But still, this is just like
right. For this, you sacrifice 1 mana for 1 attack, and then for minions, it doesn't matter. Like this even has more of an upside, although you like almost never get the upside. But you also can't really heal face. So if that card is good, this card should be good, and it is good, right? Like both of those cards are very good. You're gonna draft this not like an insane amount, just because this is definitely a card you don't want like too many in your deck.
Yep.
Because it definitely gets clunky. It can definitely get awkward.
It fills the same role as Earthen Ring Farseer for the neutrals, which I like. I like that there's now another card in that mode because that used to be a thing. Like Earthen Ring Farseer and Dark Scale Healer used to be like a consistent thing that you saw. Right?
Right.
You would be able to Abusive Sergeant and Dark Iron Dwarf something +2, and you'd be able to heal your minions up at around the same rate. And now those are just no longer things in the arena. So having more of them is always good.
Right, and obviously Blizzard is identifying. It's like, oh, we don't want neutral heals. Like neutral heals are always a little bit problematic, right? And they saw even with like stuff like Earthen Ring like we see how many decks Earthen Ring made it into, right? Just because neutral heals are really, really good. But neutral minion heals they feel a lot safer with.
Right. Yep.
So yeah, I think this is a well-designed card, and it's going to be a card that you draft pretty often in the arena.
Yep. And the card I want to talk about was Daring Reporter, another common. 4 mana 3/3. Whenever your opponent draws a card, gain +1/+1. So your opponent's going to draw a card right after you end your turn. So it's going to be a 4/4 as far as your opponent's concerned. And then if he doesn't take care of it that one turn, it's going to be a 5/5 by the time it gets back to him. But it's still only a 4/4 on your turn, so you can't use it to like kill a Yeti. It's very interesting, and it made me think about the number of cards that like grew, like that was like an engine and that grew, or had extra value that was in neutral common slot. And in Classic, you had Flesh Eating Ghoul, you had Cult Master, and then they just like didn't release anymore after TGT, and TGT had the Spire mechanics, obviously, and you just didn't have any more of these. Like, stuff that, like, common neutral cards that gained value as it stayed alive, right? Like, Questing Adventurers was rare, but, like, you had those, you had, Mukla's Champion, you had, I don't know, even something like Gurubashi, right? Like, just,
Yep.
and that was, like, such a big theme in Classic. Such a big theme in Classic for the neutral cards. It was one of the ways that neutral cards were able to, like, be different than vanilla. And they just did not do that for a whole year. Like, nothing for a whole year with any of those mechanics. They didn't even have, like, aura buffs, right? You have Direwolf Alpha and Stormwind Champion, and they didn't even do anything similar to that. Just nothing. There's nothing in the common neutral slot for a year that does anything similar to this. And this, I want to see it kind of make a comeback. If only because it makes the neutral spot a little more interesting. But again, right, this is kind of as close as you get to a curve card as you see in this expansion so far. Which is, I'm bringing this up every single Lightforge because it's worrying me.
Well, that's the thing. Like, Blizzard has always had a problem ever since two expansions back, right? They've printed all the vanilla cards that they can print.
More Yetis. Just make more Yetis. You have a mechanical Yeti. You have
Right,
a Shogun Yeti. You can have
Okay,
a
you
Jade
make a
Yeti.
Mech Yeti, you make a Murok Yeti,
Yeah.
you make a Beast Yeti, you make suddenly you make like a Beast Pit Fighter, you make a
Oh.
Murloc Spider Tank, you make I guess you could do this stuff, but I understandably, they've released all the vanilla cards, right? They've released all the vanilla, like when GVG came out, they're like, oh, let's make a 3-mana 3/4 neutral. Whoa, no one has had that before.
And they were also like, let's make another Yeti. They
And
went
they were
away
also
from
like-
making more Yetis. They haven't made a Yeti in a long time. They need to make more
Right.
Yetis.
I mean, I think they do, and I think that they should. If you guys have been keeping up, they definitely have been talking about Arena more and more recently. Ixar has been commenting a lot. So I definitely think they're keeping an eye out for it, and I think the Blizzard dev team is also aware of they're very aware of sort of the direction that Arena needs to take, and this is something that's on their radar. I think, like the fact that
Alright.
Arena is just getting weirder, right?
Yeah.
Crazier.
Arena is
So-
getting weirder. I mean, I just got a 12-1 mage that like just didn't curve out, and it didn't matter, right? Like, and I
No,
wasn't
no.
like too threatened the entire way through. I was like, this kind of works. Like, I get the idea that maybe you don't want Arena to be like pure curve stone, but that's still the fundamentals of Arena, right? Like, when constructed as curve stone, Arena's got to be even more curve stone. Like, where else? What are you doing with the game? Like, where are your like fundamental cards that anchors what Hearthstone is? You like don't want to go in with like each deck kind of doing its own thing and like not interacting with each other. So, like, like one of the things I like about Arena is that it's very much not like you go for your win condition, I go for my win condition, and we see who gets there first, right? Like, that's not too fun to me because that feels like you're like bowling, right? You're playing a one-player game and there's not a lot of defense going on. But when you have like minion combat on the board, which is what Blizzard has been promoting, just generally, it's more exciting because every turn you're like playing offense and defense, and you're like screwing with your opponent. And it's even easier to do in the arena because there's less like removals and less like stuff that you can do, which means that stuff sticks on the board for longer, and you really get that fight going. And so I mean, we need more cards. There's 6 more common cards, 6 more common neutral cards left to reveal. I hope that at least 4 of them are normal-ish curve cards, somewhere between 2 mana and 6 mana. But we're probably not going to get that, and so we're probably looking at a very undercurved meta coming up, which is going to be bad for classes that need curve. Which, I don't know, maybe that is one of the limiting factors of the priest dominance coming up. Maybe what we didn't anticipate was that it's going to be impossible to curve out and that priest will have nothing.
Yep. We'll see. But pretty exciting, and we should be getting the big card dump this upcoming week.
Should be tomorrow.
Should be tomorrow.
Rodance
So
having a stream.
Yeah, what Blizzard usually does is after, like right before they release the expansion, they just dump all the rest of the cards. And this might sound like, oh well, these are non-interesting cards. If you guys remember, this is where we got
Bog
Word of
Creeper.
Bog Creeper and Psychotron.
Oh
Um,
yes,
yeah,
Cyclotron too.
in Psychotron. So this is where we saw that OG was going to be the taunt meta, right?
Yeah, it
We
was so
had no idea
crazy. Before
previously.
the
Yeah.
release, we were all like, "This is gonna be just random set of cards with like Cthulhu being removed. It's gonna have nothing to do with the arena." And then the card dump happened, and oh my god, I was so excited. I think I made a video that night about the taunt
Right,
meta.
right.
I was so
Uh,
excited.
we immediately identified like it's like, oh my gosh, like this is where
Huge.
everything changes,
Yeah.
right? And who knows? Maybe we'll see something like that because this is you sort of get that old gods feel in which like where is the sexiness? Where is like all the hype going to be?
Wait,
It's going to
what?
be around these
Yeah. Okay.
gangs,
Yeah.
right?
Hmm.
And just like with the old gods, that's where the hype is. So maybe we'll get another Kraken or Bog Creeper here in the dump.
I mean, I hope so, because right now, like, these cards aren't that good. Like, the common cards, a bunch of them are, like, Yeti-ish or, like, better than Yeti. In fact, a lot of them are, like, Yeti-ish or better than Yeti, which means you're definitely going to pick them a lot, and you're going to see them in your arena decks. But nothing is, like, standout good, right? Like, and that's a problem.
Yeah,
That is a problem when you want to, like, define a meta around something. And maybe they don't. Maybe they just want. Maybe the whole point of this expansion is that you want the classes to battle it out, and so you want the gang feeling, and so you don't want any particular card in the neutral slot to be like an overall Gadget Exam flavor, right? There's no overall MSG meta. There's just what each gang has its own kind of meta, and the Druid has no meta. All right. Question from the goat.
question from the goat. Let's just okay. I had I guess a more substantive question available, but I think we should just skip it. I think we should just skip it and talk about the warrior. Like it's been
Do we want to
it.
talk about? I wanted to skip talking about the Warrior. Is there anything to talk about for the Warrior?
Oh, so let me just give you guys an update. I went for my fourth 12-win warrior in a row. Didn't make it. We only got to 10. But I'll just say this about the warrior. I think it's in a pretty good spot right now
Mm-hmm.
because look, weapons have always been really powerful, but weapons now, if it's possible, are even more powerful,
Yep, they're
right? Like
OP.
weapons are just completely OP, and warriors are able to, like with their curve cards, with the curve cards that they've gotten in like the past four expansions, or three expansions, I guess. Stuff like Blood to Ichor, Ravaging Ghoul, just all of these like really helpful like ticky tack damage stuff. Use that, dominate the board, go face with your weapon at a certain point. Also, I've been drafting Korkron Elite very, very highly.
Yeah.
That card is just like the amount of damage that you get to their face. Like I look at it as a much, much, much better Nightblade, right?
Yes.
Right.
Do you
And
draft it higher than a Yeti?
yeah. I do.
Yep.
The way I draft Warrior right
That's
now,
where we
yeah,
have it at.
it is much higher than a Yeti for me.
Oh, okay.
Much
We have it
higher.
barely higher than a Yeti in the tier list.
But I think the way that you win right now with a warrior, like charges are good. Like Wolf Rider is still not great, right? Just because of the way that is, it doesn't persist on the board.
Right.
Like it just doesn't stay. Corcoran Elite can stay on the board, and it's just like really good for what you want to do as a warrior. Anyways, so we
You know
unfortunately
what I'm
didn't make it
averaging
to
for
12.
Warrior in Karazhan?
What?
Take a guess.
I don't know, like 5?
Keep going.
Wait, keep going lower.
Keep going.
4,
Keep going.
3.
Yeah, that's my Warrior
Oh
average for
yeah.
Karazhan.
Wow.
So
Wow, remember when Advocate used to be good at Warrior?
those were the
I know.
days. Those were
I
the
know.
days. No, but I haven't played that many Warrior after the patch was released.
Damn.
But
Okay.
yeah, but still, yeah, I have not been having good luck with the Warrior, and it wasn't like most of the drafts. You ended up looking at it and you're like, all right, this deck is not going to go all that well because we're missing like things that make Warriors do Warrior things. But yeah, it's not been a good. It's been a good Rogue meta for me, not a good Warrior meta for me. But
Yeah.
I'm kind of like just avoiding the class as much as possible for now until the new expansion comes out, and then I'll try to like reset my warriorness.
Look at that. That's the difference between me and Advocate. He runs away from a class. I just dominate. That's it. That's it. Easy. Easy.
Okay, just a reminder that the Lightforge is brought to you by our patrons. Patreon.com/grinandgoat. Thank you guys so much for your support. And we'll see you next week when, by next Sunday, in all honesty, MSG may be released. Like, they're doing the data dump on Monday, so they could very well release it on like Thursday, or they could release it the week after that, which I'm hoping for. But who knows, right? Like, they can do one of those things where it releases for Arena earlier. Remember, with GVG at around the same time.
Please, please, please. Well, okay. If they do that, guys, play the Arena. If you're someone who watches / listens to this podcast,
yeah, you're way ahead of the curve.
You're way ahead of the curve, and you get to feast on all the people who want to play Arena and
or who want to try out the new cards, not who want to play Arena. Who are not even Arena players.
Right. Who want to try it out. So if they release it early, grab your gold, jump into the Arena, enjoy your winnings.
Yes. God, I had how many 12? Do we average like more than 50% 12-win runs for like the first week of GVG? I remember it was like so
I remember
good.
all the streamers.
Yeah, all the streamers did that. It was kind of great.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, it's been a long podcast. Until next time. Until next week. This is Adwicta.
This is Merps. See you guys.
See ya.